The Dershow.
I would focus a lot on the preparation that Cohen had with the prosecution. Lawyers hate when you ask questions about how you prep the witness, but it's not privileged. Remember that there's no lawyer client privilege between Michael Cohen and the prosecution. So you can ask Michael Cohen anything. Now, will the judge permit it? Well, he certainly should under the rules of evidence. But will he? Who knows? So far, he has made some terrible rulings, and he probably will continue to do that. But I would say to him, now, I want you to go back when you and the prosecution discussed the fact that you tape recorded your own client. Tell me exactly what you said to the prosecution and what the prosecution said to you. Did they make any suggestions? Did they ask you why you tape recorded the conversation? Did you tell them that you did it not to protect yourself against Donald Trump coming after you, but you did it to protect Donald Trump against David Pecker? Did you tell that to the prosecution? Yeah. And did the prosecution believe that? Did they credit that answer? That sounds like such a dumb answer. I don't even understand it as I sit here. What did you mean that you were intending to protect Donald Trump against David Pecker? And if you were intending to protect Donald Trump, why didn't you ask him permission to tape him? Or why did you tell him that you were taping him? Do you often tape record your clients? Don't you think you had an obligation to tell your client about it? Are you aware that under New York Code of Professional Responsibility, a lawyer is not allowed to tape his client without permission? So I want to know everything that you said to the prosecution and everything the prosecution said to you. Did they suggest this answer? Did you come up with it on your own? Did you tell them at some point that you thought you needed insurance against Trump turning against you? I want to know every single thing you and the prosecution discussed about this recording. Did they tell you that it was unethical? Did they prep you if you were asked about why you engaged in unethical behavior? Everything, every single word. I want you to remember everything you said, everything the prosecutor said, who was in the room with you at the time, which prosecutors were prepping you. Did you see them take notes? Did you take notes? So I would start with that, because that's, to me, the most vulnerable part of his testimony, his what appears to be a false, made-up statement that he did it to protect Donald Trump against David Pecker. It seems absurd on its face. Then I would go over every other point in the testimony and say, now, exactly what did you say to the prosecution? And what did they tell you? Did they ever correct you? Did they ever tell you, it might be better if you said it this way rather than that way? Or did they just ask you questions and whatever you said, they never made any comments about that? I know I've prepared witnesses, and I've seen testimony of other people who have prepared witnesses. And invariably, lawyers say something to the witness. No. Are you sure you mean that? Are you sure you want to say it that way? Do you know what they'll think if you say it that way? Maybe, is it possible you should say it this way? Now, there's nothing really wrong with preparing a witness as long as you don't have him change his testimony. But lawyers hate to get that, how the sausage is made, exposed. And so I would focus a lot on that. I would focus a lot on the preparation sessions. I would go through every preparation session. I would want the jury to know how many times they sat together in the same room, who was in the room, precisely what was said. Juries don't like that. Juries like to think that witnesses are testifying from their own memory. And remember, this is a witness who remembers precisely the one statement that would seem to be incriminating. He remembers precisely that Trump essentially said to him, I didn't do this to help Melania, I don't care about her. Don't worry about that. I did it only to get me elected. That's the key piece of testimony that he gave, and he remembered that with precision. But he didn't remember things that happened even more recently. And so it's very important that you begin to get the jury to understand that his direct testimony, which was quite good, I mean, it didn't state a crime, but it was quite good from what we hear. That is, he was not shaken, he was not nervous, he didn't seem to be evasive. The jury has to understand that that was extraordinarily rehearsed, if it was, and I'm sure it was. And they have to know exactly what went into the rehearsal. To me, that's the key to effective cross-examination. And I would bet you, too, that Cohen isn't prepared for that.